Oh, did she just take like volunteers then?
For the most part, yeah. Sometimes if you make eye contact, she's an eye contact person. Either she'll take volunteers up until the point no one's speaking, and then she'll do the eye contact thing. But she's still too nice.
See, I think that'd be a good system of asking for volunteers. So if you really have a case that you're really interested in that you read, then you'd like...
You just shove your eyeballs out like...
Well, you raise your hand, you'd volunteer for it, and so you'd probably get a lot of the...
No, hand raising is too mainstream. You gotta really bug your eyes out.
Bug her out.
It's like that picture of the guy with the vein popping out of his head.
Yeah.
the gunner.
Yeah.
Call on me, please.
But yeah, we do have gunners in our class that I feel like kind of try to monopolize a little bit, but we still have, I feel like in my class we still have a pretty good variety. Yeah. I speak, I probably try once a class to raise my hand and...
Yeah, the 1 or 2 times is definitely how I do it.
Although you can tell the people who definitely don't do that and are not prepared for cold calling, because we had one of those today and it's like torture just listening to someone who you know is like not prepared on a case, and then
just like flipping through the book, like
they're
hold
flipping
on.
through the book and taking really long pauses. You're like, oh.
If you're in that situation, honestly, the kids, it went totally silent, and everybody was like, "Oh no!" when someone did this last year. But afterwards, you're like, "That's kind of a baller move." When the person's just like, "Yeah, I don't know, I didn't read it." And that I think is honestly often a better way to go about it.
That's much better. I would much rather a student do that and say, "Sorry, I didn't read it. Could you pass?"
They like take 10 minutes to like half botch it with the wrong holding.
Yeah, I've had some people. Some people this year though have like, instead of doing that, they've just been like, "Come back to me," or like, "I'm going to pass on this one." That is the professors are not as into that though. They're like.
It's baller,
they get a little
though.
bit of excuse me.
That's more disrespectful than saying, I just don't know it, man.
It's like, I want to take time, but I didn't prepare, but I still want to later.
Yeah. Yeah, but commanding them to, like, pass, that's different. That's like you're telling them what to do. Yeah. You could say this one is like this. Sorry, this is like really. This is a really tough case for me. Can I? Like this was really personally affecting.
This was really triggering for me.
Yeah, you could also go that.
This is
route.
Paul's graph. Yeah, I know, but the circumstances that led to me reading this is
causation really causes me concerns.
Yeah, I'm terrified of train platforms.
And so, how do you handle the work-life balance? I mean, do you find it pretty difficult, just with the full-time job and going to school part-time?
So with the full-time job and school part-time, that kind of is my life, which is fine because all of my friends do that too. So my social activities are getting together with my friends and studying. So, I mean, I still get to see my friends and I get to study, which is great. I do a few things that I'm really into. Like, I still keep up with running is a big thing for me.
Okay.
So I try and do, like, 1 race a month.
Gross. Yep.
Gross.
It's kind of gross.
That sounds
nice.
awful. No, it's really good.
You have to pick out, like, 1 or 2 things that you just need to focus on that are not work or school. And that's one thing that I cling to.
Okay. Hannah is a big-time runner as well, aren't you?
A huge time.
No,
I'm a small time runner, but it's funny. There's actually, I think, a pretty high. Maybe you've noticed this too. Actually, there's a lot of runners in law school because it's a lot of masochists. Like, people who like to suffer for fun.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that's why I do it.
Yeah, highly correlated.
Yeah, we started a runners club. Did you know about that?
I did not. Thanks for telling me, SBA guy.
You're welcome. Well, that happened like this semester, so
while you were in
last.
SBA.
Yeah, good point. So. Runners Club, that's a good way to de-stress and get your mind off things. I don't personally run, obviously. So, but for other people, my outlet is music, so.
Yeah.
And then one last question. What is it really like working and going to school with Anthony?
It's awesome. I was hungry today, so I told Anthony, and he gave me food.
Wow.
I'm a nice person.
You're like the Jesus of
I got
Mitchell
her the
Hamline.
job.
He did too, yeah. Well, I got the job myself, thank
Well,
you.
she got me $500 for referral bonus, so.
And he owes me ice cream.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, so
Got,
you wait,
like,
you
a
referred.
So he referred me.
Okay.
He just sent me the listing, and then he sent an email to our HR person and said, hey, my friend wants the job. So then they interviewed me. I was so scared. My first interview was less than 18 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, and I walked
That's
out
a
the
quick
door.
interview.
I know, I walked out the door, and I was like, they're probably just trying to be nice because I was referred, and now they're just throwing away my resume right now.
But then you got a call back
I
and
did,
you got
yeah.
the job.
Yep.
Awesome.
Wait, so how long does a referral have to work there for you to get
3
the-
months. 3
3
months.
months? Okay.
I counted down the days.
I'll split the $500 with you.
No, I got oh yeah, $500.
If there's anything I'm qualified for, no, they probably wouldn't hire me.
Actually, there might be a few positions.
Wait, he didn't even split it with me. How do you get
No,
half of-
we made a deal that I would buy you anything you wanted out the dollar menu.
I want ice cream.
You're so generous.
I'm a generous
Let's get
guy.
Mitch hired, and then the rest of us take the money.
Hey,
There we go.
we have
Actually,
an
we do.
accounting position open right now.
Oh
Perfect.
God,
You
we
guys could
do.
talk about it. Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Excellent.
Yeah.
No.
Our accounting department is all women, and I'd like to keep it that way.
Wow. I feel like that was a personal attack on me.
Mitch is
if estrogen
feminine
is what
enough.
you're worried about, you'd be fine.
He's progressive. He's feminine enough, I bet.
I could
All
do it. Yeah.
All right.
Did you hear Debbie today? Oh my God.
Now that is not progressive nor feminist. Way to go! Don't put
You
anything
just
in accounting.
offended everyone.
I'm sorry, I offended everyone.
So, so Ashley, what do you want to do with your law degree?
I would really love to go into family law and handle like divorces and custody and stuff like that.
Okay, excellent. So you'll handle my divorce, right? When my
Hopefully not.
or will you handle my? Or she'll probably support my wife, right?
I mean,
Okay.
We already volunteered.
Yeah. We already represent your wife. All of us are going to
Before here,
represent.
as soon as you guys all graduate, my
Right.
wife's going to take me for everything, isn't she?
aw.
Aw.
So
Hey,
No,
does she
it's
get half
fine.
your debt though? Does it work that way too?
no, she only gets the best parts.
Is
that how
I'll
that
probably
works?
take it. I think she has more debt than I do, actually.
No,
Well,
maybe
then
she
run.
won't.
I know.
Just kidding.
Wait, if you're married and you accrue debt and you split up, how does that debt get split evenly? Or do you know?
I think it's more of like a case by case basis. It depends. That's
Have
the
you
correct
taken
answer.
family
Family
law?
law school.
Yeah.
No,
You haven't taken a family law class
no, we're
yet?
still doing our core classes.
So
So
can-
this J term, I'm taking foodborne illness litigation.
Which is up and
Oh.
rising. Have you
Yeah.
seen the news?
that romaine, that romaine
Right?
docket. Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit? So, of all of the forms of law, I mean, there are several, but family law is one of those areas where have always known I'm like definitely not for me. Like,
Yeah.
I don't see the appeal. So, what is it about family law that is like makes you want to do it?
I grew up with a split family, and I think just growing up with parents that were divorced, trying to go back and forth to every single house every week. So I do 1 week with my dad, 1 week with my mom, and they did the best they could. It just wasn't ideal for me, I don't think.
It shows.
So, do you think a better lawyer could have done a better job, like crafting the agreement and stuff like that?
My dad had a lot more money than my mother. So there was a clear difference in how that played out. So he obviously could afford a better lawyer. And yes, I think that a better lawyer could have split it differently.
How do you think that would have still affected you week to week, though? I mean, if you're still sharing custody every other week, would a lawyer be able to make that better, though?
I mean, there were other things that were a big issue too, like holiday schedules. My parents would fight over who got us for holidays. And I just...
Like, you take her. No, you take her. No. Oh, gosh.
There was one New Year's where my parents could not decide if the New Year landed on an odd year or an even year. And they were fighting over who didn't have to have me. So it happens. It does.
Wow.
That's like the partying holiday.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, and I was just joking, too.
I said every other holiday they wanted me. So
Okay.
I was a wanted child. I just not on New Year's.
Before we begin, please visit us on social media at Cold Call Awcast with 3 L's in it. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Tell us what you think of our podcast or ask us a question. He calls himself. He gave
Yeah, I don't know
himself
if it was
as
President T or like Mr.
Yeah, he called
T.
himself President T.
Oh.
Yeah.
Rap name
Donnie
was-
T.
Donnie T. Actually, no, I don't like that.
No, it makes
I
him
just
sound cooler
decided.
than he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the what I do want to know, other than regular stocks, why are the digital currencies tanking right now?
You mean like Bitcoin and stuff like that?
Bitcoin, Ethereum.
Because it became mainstream.
I mean, I think for Bitcoin, I think the issue is that it's not like really tangible in any ways, and I feel like the stock has just been performing based on people's expectations, which have gone up and down for years and years. And
Yeah, but
they
in
had
like
this
the last
huge
few days, like there's a big tank.
Yeah, I mean, so if it's just like the stock of Bitcoin, then it's really just on like how people presume the valuation of Bitcoin will be, and so it's
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
The Midwest
will be-
alternative.
Bitcoin, it's an abomination.
So there's no value in it. It's just people, putting money
That's
into
what they believe it's worth.
putting money into it, and there's not really a great return for what it's actually going to be.
There was a great return for the people who sold high.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
was.
How- did any of
I
you
knew a
guys-
guy.
do you
I
guys
knew a
own
guy
it?
who owned like a lot. Like he put $1,000 into it like a long time ago, and so it was up. He was up to like a couple $100,000 at one point. Now it's probably only worth like 30,000 or whatever.
The people I've heard about having Bitcoin were like other students who used them to buy fake IDs when they were 18, and then had like 0.02 Bitcoin left that was worth $80 like a year ago.
Nice.
Yeah, my buddy
that's
had
cool.
3 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Oh, did he? I think my brother mined Bitcoin as well, and so he had a couple, but not much. And so, but I think he sold it right away. I mean, it was worth nothing for so long, and then all of a sudden it jumped like thousands of percentage
That's
points.
why I keep all my Pokemon cards, guys.
Yeah.
Someday.
Someday.
Yeah, my cousin, he had some like when it started out, and then he sold when it was at like $50 or something. And I think he made like a couple $1,000s and was like, "This is so sweet," and then he was just kicking himself like a few years later.
What was the highest that Bitcoin got to?
It was at like 20 grand.
Was it?
Yeah.
Like a year ago. Yep. Which was insane.
The value just went through the roof for like a year, and then it just came crashing down. I mean, it's still pretty high compared to where it
But you
first
can't
was.
cash
Like
out
3,500.
Bitcoin, can you?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you cash out
Okay.
Bitcoin.
That's the problem. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem is that everybody's cashing out. Everybody cashed out the Bitcoin when it was so high, rightfully, because that's when it was grossly overvalued. That now it's come back down to reality.
Yeah, there's other regulatory issues and stuff with that. It's like not very interesting to me right now, but
You don't want to talk about those regulatory issues?
no, maybe like it's have to be too much excitement. You got to like save the real.
Well, they're not traced, is it? Bitcoin isn't a traced currency, is it? Or it is?
I mean, the thing is that it's not regulated by the Federal Reserve. I think that's why some people like it, especially like people who are very libertarian focused, is that
And teenagers buying fake IDs.
Oh yeah, I was going to say like black market application. That's why the people like Bitcoin, right?
yeah, I mean, it's not so much like the black market, just as in the non-traditional currency market.
Okay.
It'd be like trading goods for other goods that are non-paper related. So, yeah.
And yeah, people like one of the greater goals is like to decentralize the banking system and like make currency more democratized, I guess.
How do you see that happening? Do you think that's going to happen?
Well, with the
anytime?
new blockchain technologies and stuff, the part of the appeal of that is there isn't like one big central bank that is keeping all the numbers and keeping everybody's funds. It's like everybody's data system, and I do not understand this very well. It's very complicated, but my basic understanding of it is like everybody's system plays a part in contributing to the security of it. So it's one of the most secure sorts of transactions that you could do, and one of the most secure like things you could own problem is the value fluctuates wildly, and there are
Right.
people who can create it by mining it, and if you can't mine it, you can't create it in that way. But as far as like the validity of like the accounting aspects of it, it has a lot of appeal, and the block